But the thing is, if you want to outdo most people, all you have to do is raise the bar for yourself, because some people are only willing to do things when it's convenient for them. Because right now, the way you're acting is creating a habit of being consistent at being mediocre. Okay, if I'm being very frank. If you cannot manage your finances at the current level that you are making money right now, why do you want more? If you are struggling with a little, you are going to suffer with a lot. Basically, I was wearing myself out, running myself to the ground, trying to control the outcome of everything in my life. Yeah, God, I love you, I praise you, blah, 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 but let me go over here and handle this myself, right? Because you're not moving fast enough. You're not moving fast enough. And right now, I know you have your ways, let me teach you. Let's do things my way. That's not in this area right now, God. I just need predictability, and I need some quickness, okay? I need some speed. Okay, and you're not doing that for me right now, so just step aside and let me take over. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the show. I'm your host Sensi, and today we're going to be talking about 4 mindset shifts that has changed my life and transformed my character, and will do the same for you if you adopt them. The first mindset shift is to have a standard of excellence for yourself. Reject mediocrity. Stop doing the bare minimum. Stop letting that be the bar for yourself. Let me put it this way. Let's say there are 2 people who have to run a race in a month, right? And one of them just trains like whenever they feel like it, right? They work out and they jog casually here and there. They don't really take it seriously, right? It's just like, yeah, I practice when I have the time. And the other person decides that they're going to train like an Olympian pretty much, right? So they follow a very strict schedule. Maybe they get more time with the coach or find somebody to coach them. They push past discomfort and they train even when they don't feel like it. Which one do you think is going to actually win the race or perform better on the day of the race? And my question is, which one do you train like, hypothetically speaking, when it comes to the things that you say are important to you? Whatever it is you say you want to do, the things you say that are important to you, which one are you training like? Which one are you acting like? Are you doing whatever you feel like whenever you feel like it, or are you doing what's required of you? And this mindset shift is based on 2 biblical principles. The first is 1 Corinthians 9:24, which says, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize." And the second is from Proverbs 22, verse 29. "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before obscure men." What that basically means is when you do the best that you absolutely can, when you decide to set the bar higher for yourself and be somebody who's extraordinary, you're going to naturally get a lot of opportunities coming to you without you even having to do anything, because you create a reputation of somebody who goes above and beyond. And the thing is, there's so many fields and industries and things and even contents that people always say, this is so saturated, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, if you want to outdo most people, all you have to do is raise the bar for yourself, because some people are only willing to do things when it's convenient for them. If you literally set a higher standard for yourself, you could outperform most people in whatever it is you really want to do. And again, I don't just mean when this is convenient. I mean even when you would have every excuse and everybody would understand if you chose to slow down. Let me give an example in my personal life, right? I remember when I was in college and I had to work to pay for college. There was a semester where I had a job at the Brave Stadium back when it was in Turner Field. And I used to have to go to the 7 o'clock games 3 hours before, 3 or 4 hours before, and then leave 3 or 4 hours after the game was over. So the 7 o'clock games, the evening games, would probably end around 9 or 10, 11, and then I would probably get home around 1 or 2 in the morning sometimes, right? And I remember I would get home that late and then I would still shower and I would still get in bed and I would study and I would do my homework for the next day or for the week, or if I had a quiz or something coming up the next day, even if it was 2 in the morning, by the time I got in bed, I would still open my laptop and do my homework. I would still study, even if it was for 10, 15 minutes, right? I remember there was a time where I was feeling stressed out one particular day, and the people who I was talking to, I don't really remember who, but I remember everybody I spoke to about how overwhelmed and stressed I was feeling, everybody said, you're doing very well for yourself. You're doing all right. Like, you already have a 4.0 GPA. It doesn't matter if you fail this next pop quiz. It doesn't matter if you call out of work. It doesn't matter if you like take some time and just relax or like not do so much, right? And even if everybody around me would understand if I chose to take a step back and not do so much, I still chose to push past it. Because I had made those commitments, I chose to honor them despite the fact that I was overwhelmed in the moment. And I'm not necessarily advocating for depleting yourself and like working yourself to death or anything like that. What I'm saying is, when everybody expected me to scale back and do less because it would have been understood that I was doing a lot, I chose to push past the discomfort and still maintain a level of excellence for myself. Because to me, it was about, I said that I want to maintain a 4.0 GPA. I said that I was going to work this semester to pay for my tuition. And I said that I'm going to do my best. I always had a standard of excellence for myself. Like, if I'm doing something, I want to do it to the best of my abilities, right? I want to gradually progress. I want to get better at what I'm doing. Like, that has always been something that I prided myself in. So when I was in that moment, even when everybody would understand if I chose to scale back and do nothing, I told myself, you made those commitments, you have to honor them. And it's temporary, right? It's temporary that you will be stressed out right now. In those moments when I was overwhelmed, I chose not to give up because I told myself it's temporary. It's a temporary discomfort. What you are working for, it's more important that you keep your word to yourself than you choose to slack off just because most people would if they were in your position. And the thing is, that paid off because there would be times where I got many opportunities because I maintained that GPA that a lot of people did not get. The position that I was hired for after I graduated, the company that hired me, some people told me that they don't recruit at my school, right? They don't do this, that, and the third. But I got indoors. I got in rooms where I was the only Black person, or I was one of 3 out of 700, right? Being recruited for opportunities because of that GPA, because I told myself I want to maintain a certain standard of excellence because I know I can do it. And just because people around me think that, well, a 3.7 is still good, I'm not going to hold myself to that standard. I'm not going to lower my standards and say, well, your GPA is already higher than most people. It doesn't matter if it drops down a few points, you can pick it up next semester. I was not going to be the type of person to say, let me just slack off now and then, you know what, let me just coast, right? Because I chose to maintain that level of integrity. I got opportunities that a lot of people did not get because I was willing to do what was uncomfortable and hold myself to a higher standard than a lot of people around me. There was a time when I said, you know what, I am done with all of this hard working and all of this because I felt like sometimes my efforts were being taken for granted. And so I decided to scale back and do less. And let me tell you something. One of the popular trends that was going around recently, and I think it's still going around, is the concept of quiet quitting. And I want you to realize that when you decide to do something like quiet quit, which is do just enough not to get fired at your job because you don't like it or because you feel like you're not being paid well or whatever the situation may be, I want you to understand that you are doing yourself a greater disservice than that company because they can replace you, but now you are lowering the bar for yourself and you are telling yourself that it's okay to be mediocre, it's okay to do less. And guess what? That attitude, that habit of doing less is going to spill over in every other area of your life. So now you might say, oh, well, you know what? I have this passion, this thing that I really want to pursue. But guess what? You have been so far maintaining a habit of doing the absolute bare minimum. And if you think just because you're passionate about something, all of a sudden you're going to have all of the zeal and discipline to do it well when you've been slacking off in other areas of your life, you are playing yourself. I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience, okay? How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you think, okay, I'll slack off over here and I'll take this thing that I care about seriously, I want you to understand that whatever standard you hold yourself to right now, however you operate right now in one thing, is how you will operate in that other thing. It doesn't matter how you like it because right now, the way you're acting is creating a habit of being consistent at being mediocre. Okay, if I'm being very frank. That's why you need to hold yourself to high standards, because it's going to spill over in every other area of your life. The second mindset shift that you need to adopt, that literally has made a world of a difference in my life, is to be a good steward, right? It's the principle of stewardship. Let me explain it to you this way. Let's say you have a friend, right? A male friend. And that male friend has a girlfriend, and he treats her like she's the absolute scum of the earth. Like he treats her like he hates women. He just embarrasses her every single chance that he gets, right? And when you're around him and you hear him talk about her, or you hear him talk about women in general around his friends, it like just problems. Okay, just problems. Somebody hurt him and he has not recovered. Okay? If that same male friend now sees your female best friend and he says, "You know what? I'm interested in her. I want you to introduce me to her." Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Maybe if you hate her, but are you going to do it? If you genuinely like that female best friend, right? And you want the best for her, if that male friend who clearly does not like his girlfriend asks you to introduce him to your female best friend, are you going to set them up? Knowing what you know about him, are you going to set them up? The answer is likely no, right? So my thing is, if you wouldn't give him a pass, why do you expect a pass to be given for you, right? Stay with me. If you cannot manage your finances at the current level that you are making money right now, why do you want more? If you are praying to God for a new car, right? You really want a new car, you need an upgrade, and your current car looks like they could probably find a body in your trunk under all of the rubbish. Do you think God is going to look and say, "You know what? Yeah, you definitely deserve a new car. Look at how you take care of the things that I've already given you." You see what I'm saying? Like, if your current car is a mess, why are you asking for more? Why don't you clean it first? You see what I'm saying? If you're asking God for a new apartment, is the one you live in currently even clean? If you are asking for an increase, don't you think you should at least learn how to handle where you are currently at? If you are struggling with a little, you are going to suffer with a lot, right? Because you don't know how to take care of the things you have. And a good father is not going to give you more of what you cannot handle. One of the pastors I listened to gave this example and said, if you give somebody a thing too early, it can be a curse instead of a blessing. Like if you have a child or a sibling, a younger sibling, and you give them a car when they're 9 years old, that's not going to be a blessing. They might get themselves hurt because they don't know how to drive. They're not mature enough to drive yet, right? But when you give it to them, when they can manage it, when they can handle it, now it's a blessing, right? Because they can take care of it. Sometimes God is withholding because you cannot steward over the things that He has already given you. You are already struggling. If you're making, say, less than $50,000 a year and you cannot even account for where your money is going right now. And I'm not talking about the cost of living and inflation and that type of stuff and things just being expensive. I'm talking about you're not even tracking a single dollar that comes into your account. You have no idea how much is going in your savings, in your 401k. You have no idea how much money you spend on food. You have no idea how much money you spend on entertainment. Like you just swipe your card or you just pay and you just see how much you have left. Like you are not ready for an increase because you're just going to carry the same habits over into the new thing that you are praying for, right? So you need to learn how to be a good steward of what you have right now, especially if you want more. Learn how to take care of what you already have. And this principle comes from Luke chapter 16, verse 10 to 12, which says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? And if you have not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own?" It's the same example that I gave with that friend who clearly does not like women. Are you going to introduce him to the women in your life that you care about? No. Okay? Stop expecting these type of exceptions to be made on your behalf. Learn how to manage the things that God has given you before you cry to Him about wanting more, right? The third mindset shift that really freed me last year, it was one of the pivotal moments in my life as I got closer in my relationship with God, is that it's not always about me and it's not up to me. Let me explain what I mean. If making everything about you and what you wanted to manifest and the desires of your heart and the things that you wanted to own and the type of life you wanted to live was enough, then why are you not satisfied? Why do you still want more? Why do you manifest the things that you want and then you just move the goalposts and ask for more? Why do you always want more if that's enough, right? I have to ask myself these type of questions, and I'm asking you these questions. Or maybe you have quote unquote manifested all of the things that you wanted, but it's still not enough. You still feel like there's some type of void. You still feel empty, like there's something missing, right? And I'm saying manifested in quotations because I'm not referring to the word manifestation. I'm referring to new age spirituality, law of attraction, manifestation, that type of thing, right? Using that as a replacement for God, because God isn't moving fast enough and giving you the things that you want, so you resort to other new age practices to try to call in all of the things that you want in your life that you think will bring you fulfillment, and all of it is influenced by society, and it's all for vanity and it's all for external approval. And the reason why there's still a void, the reason why that's never enough, is because you've made everything about you and your needs and your desires and what you want, right? And you don't try to serve anybody else. You don't try to help anybody else. You don't try to make your life about more than just living for yourself and your desires and material things. And maybe you do serve others, but sometimes we have to understand that there are some people who serve others because of ego and not in humility. What I mean by that is you help people because you want to feel good about saying you help people. You help people because you want a pat on the back. You help people because you want external validation. You don't actually live a life of servitude and humility, which is valuing others above yourselves and not just living for you. You don't really live that type of life. It's not really embedded in you. You just want to say that, oh, look, I helped this person today, right? Like there's a difference. I've noticed that there is a difference. You want to help people and you want to serve other people, but that's second to you getting the things that you want. That's second to your greed. That's second to what can I get out of this first? How can I benefit from this, but then also help other people? You see what I mean? But God calls us to do the reversal. He calls us to serve. Some of the people you will find who are the most fulfilled in what they do is the people who live a life of servitude. The people who know that their life is bigger than themselves and they understand that they are called to a certain group of people to help them, and they do that to the best of their abilities. And God had to shift me into that mindset because like I told y'all before, I used to be very selfish. It used to be like all about me and what I wanted. And God had to work on me because I was that way out of self-preservation and trying to protect myself. And when I started getting closer to God, I realized that there's no room for selfishness here. Like God calls us to serve and to humble ourselves before other people. And the other thing too, because I said the first part is it's not about you. The second part is it's not up to you, right? That was one of the most freeing realizations that I had last year when God humbled me, like truly humbled me, and made me realize that in order to trust him, I had to let go of control. And that was something I really struggled with. And I talked about this more on my episode on pride and self-reliance and how it almost kept me from my relationship with God. Basically, I was wearing myself out, running myself to the ground, trying to control the outcome of everything in my life, right? Thinking that the outcome and the results were based on my inputs and completely omitting God. Like, yeah, God, I love you, I praise you, blah, 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 but let me go over here and handle this myself, right? Because you're not moving fast enough. You're not moving fast enough. And right now, I know you have your ways, let me teach you. Let's do things my way. That's not in this area right now, God. I just need predictability and I need some quickness, okay? I need some speed, okay? And you're not doing that for me right now, so just step aside and let me take over, right? That was one of the ways that God really humbled me, okay, and brought me to nothing, okay? And I talked about it more in my episode, so I wouldn't go in depth in this one. But understand that everything does not rest on you, right? Trying to always control the outcome of things is going to wear you out. And this mindset shift is based on two scriptures. The first being Philippians chapter 2, verse 3-4. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. And Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And I felt like the biggest burden was lifted off of my shoulders when I surrendered everything to God. When he finally brought me to that low point in situations that I could not control the outcome and I had to depend on him. And I just gave up. I just surrendered. Like, it felt like a huge burden was lifted off of my shoulders. And I don't have that type of, I don't carry that burden anymore. I don't carry that weight anymore. And the fourth and final mindset that changed my life is to reject counterfeits and lies and accept the truth. I want you to raise your hand or nod your head or whatever if you have ever felt like you were just dying to have a fake Louis Vuitton bag or fake Chanel or fake Bottega, whatever brand you really wanted. If you ever thought to yourself, I really want the fake version of this thing, raise your hand. If you have, cool, step aside. If you haven't, my question is, why do you apply that to your faith? Let me explain what I mean, okay? My Christian walk with the Lord has varied over the years, okay? I have been lukewarm and lukewarmer longer than I've been surrendered, okay? And last year, February 2024, I bought my first Bible because I realized that how am I going to say I'm a Christian and people are saying things I don't even know if it's true or not? Like, let me understand the context of the scriptures that I've heard of, that I hear in sermons, or that I have memorized because I went to Catholic school and we had to sing songs and hymns, and I realized later on that they were all scriptures. But I had no context. I was like, let me read this book for myself, right? Because I'm walking around claiming that I'm a Christian. I'm walking around saying, yeah, praise the Lord, and I don't even know what the Lord says. So I bought my first Bible last year and I read the whole thing. And it made me realize that the Bible is one of the most plagiarized books ever. So many other books and concepts and beliefs, etc., pretty much just take what's in the Bible and they remove God as the source and they give you a different God to worship, the most popular being you. And yes, that's you see that a lot with the new age spirituality stuff, the manifestation, the law of attraction, the that, the energy, the frequency. Let me tell you something. If y'all rely, and I say y'all, I'm not talking at you because I used to be there too, okay? But my thing is, if we're going to rely on, frequencies and energies and all of these things, I'm not here to discuss whether it's true or not. My stance is whether that should be your God, whether you should worship the creation versus the creator, right? My thing is, when we are talking about all of these frequencies in the universe and this and that, why is it that when you come to a low point in your life where you feel like things are falling apart and you need somebody to call on, you don't call on frequencies? You don't call on vibrations. You don't call on the universe. If God forbid something is happening in your family, somebody is sick, you don't say universe make her better. Why is it that when we are in a crisis, we know to call on God? We feel that we should call on God. But then as soon as we don't need him anymore, it's universe and frequencies and energies. Why worship the creation where you can worship the creator? You see what I mean? Stop going for the fake Louis Vuitton bag. The main discrepancy here is that most self-improvement content that you see on the internet, including mine at one point in time, okay? Like I said, I've been lukewarm longer than I've been surrendered, okay? And while I was lukewarm, I was also selfish. So a lot of the self-improvement content you see on the internet, they do that. They switch out God, the one and only true living God, and they make you your God because they make all of the content about you and what you want and your needs and your desires, which does not come from God, but likely comes from societal influences. So a lot of materialism, right? They make you your God and say, well, you can manifest all of these things. And if you just tap into energies and frequencies and it replaces God as God and puts you as God and puts you in control of your life. That's why essentially it's a counterfeit, because we are supposed to surrender to God. We are supposed to understand that God is sovereign, that God is in control. And New Age says you are in control, right? You can get whatever you want. Just think it and feel it and tap into the frequencies. It's all you, my, I, me, right? It's all very self-centered. It's all very based on external validation, all very based on materialism, all very based on nothing of substance. And the two scriptures that support this fourth mindset is Romans 1 verse 25. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served the created things rather than the creator, who is forever praised. Amen. And Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 to 38, Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. So if you are worshiping the creation, the universe, and all of, or whatever else, then you're obviously not loving God with all your heart and soul and your mind, right? There's something else before him. And it's something that he created. And that is called idolatry. Now, let me tell you why I say this. Let me tell you why I even bothered to put this as a fourth mindset shift. I was introduced to Christianity from a very toxic perspective, okay? I have very toxic religious influences. I grew up in the Caribbean. It's very religious. It's, if you know, you know, okay? And I had a very toxic religious view of Christianity that was all about rules and living in a way that you don't go to hell. And I was taught fear instead of faith, and I was taught rules instead of relationship. And then I turned away and I was atheist, and then I came back and I was lukewarm, and then I got the Bible and I became surrendered. And what I learned is that in the Bible it says that God is a very jealous God. And at first when I heard that, I was like, but why? I didn't understand it. I was like, why are you jealous though? Because I saw it as the possessive type of jealous, the toxic type of jealous. But it's a protective type of jealousy. Like, think about it. If you have a younger sibling and y'all are very close, y'all are like best friends, you love them, right? Let's say that younger sibling starts hanging with somebody that looks like any day now they could get offed, right? In a drive-by or something, like a real bad influence. If you saw your younger sibling going and hanging out with that person and getting pulled into that way of life more and more, and seeing how they are putting themselves in a dangerous situation because of the influence of that person in their life, you are going to feel some type of way about it, right? The jealousy that's going to come on you is because you are very protective of that sibling. Y'all used to be close and you were a good influence, and now they have replaced you with somebody who is not a good influence and who is putting their safety at risk, right? They're putting your sibling's life in danger. And you are not going to like that person because of the negative influence that they have on them, right? It's the same thing with God. God doesn't hate us. He hates sin because of what it does to us. And he hates these other idols. An idol is anything that you put above God. The reason why God does not want us dabbling in these things, the reason why it says that he's a jealous God, is because he knows that when we turn away from him and his sovereignty and his love and his protection and his plans for our life, and we go over here and make ourselves a God and worship the universe, subscribe to this notion that it's about us and what we want and our desires, we operate from a very selfish nature because it's all about us. It's not about servitude and loving others like God calls us to do. There is no growth, and it's even a hindrance because now everything is on you. You depend on you. It's all about you and what you want, which is typically influenced by society and culture, which is always trendy. It's always this and then always that. That's very unstable, right? And you could be trying to manifest things and people that are not good for you. Like, I'm pretty sure we all know somebody, and even ourselves sometimes, who wanted to force a relationship with somebody that you are very happy it did not work out. Okay? Let's be very real. That's essentially what you are doing. That's essentially what a lot of people are doing. They try to manifest all of these other things that are potentially detrimental to their lives, but they don't know it because they're so short-sighted and focused on what they want. And because they start running to the new age stuff, they drift away from God, and so they don't have the protection. They don't have the conviction of the Holy Spirit. Sometimes you don't hear or you ignore the conviction of the Holy Spirit. And the worst thing that can happen is when God turns you over to the things that you put before him. Speaking from experience, okay? So that's why he doesn't like it, because he knows what it's going to do to us. He knows that many of us are deceived in thinking that, well, they're very similar. Let me just merge them together. Let me just dabble. Oh, y'all are taking this too seriously, blah, blah, blah. I rejected the warning at first because I felt like here goes the cult Christian saying, oh, you cannot do this and you cannot do that, another rule. But once I read the Bible, I realized why it was actually detrimental. So the fourth mindset, which I would highly encourage, is that if you are a new Christian, a baby Christian, a lukewarm Christian, a lukewarmer Christian, a non-believer but you're curious, or whatever, as long as you want a genuine relationship with God, truly, the fourth mindset shift, which is rejecting counterfeits and accepting the truth, is very important. It is not an overnight thing. It likely won't be an overnight thing, but you have to be willing. Now, if you are interested in having a genuine relationship with God where you want to put him first, you want to be surrendered, you want to see him actually transform your life and change your life, you want to experience his love, etc., then I would highly recommend you sign up for my 12-week Glowing Up with God challenge. Every week for 12 weeks, I am going to send you an email giving you homework and tips and scriptures, etc., and analogies, breaking down a plan of action for you to actually grow in your relationship with God and prioritize relationship over rules, and actually allow your relationship with God to truly transform your life. So if you're already a Christian and you just want to live a more surrendered life and grow in your relationship, or you're a non-believer but you're curious about what this thing is all about, like, what are these Christians talking about? God, I don't know you like that, but I'm interested in hearing what you have to tell me. Then make sure you click the link in my bio or go to glowingupwithgod.com/challenge. That is all I have to say today, and I will talk to you next Sunday.